Starting in just a minute, I'm going to tell you why Matt Ryan is completely overrated, along with Cam Newton. I was right about this at the start of the season, by the way. Last week, we talked about how Lavar Ball has changed the culture in college basketball. This week, we're going to talk about what he just did that changed the NBA. Also, Chris says I'm very, very wrong about something. I've yet to figure out what it is. It's been killing me all evening. We're going to get to that and a lot more. This is the CJ Sweat Show, and we start now. I'm not bringing the bias here. You are.
What'd they do up there? Brainwash?
Hey, it's not my fault that your team is terrible.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
This is just honest. I'm sorry if it hurts. Oh, wait, I'm not really sorry.
Put that coffee down.
Can't stop, won't stop. Where the brakes at? I give him that ditty bop. Like, take that, take that, take that, take that.
This is the CJ Sweat Show. We are now live and brought to you out of Roanoke, Virginia. Apologize there to you on Facebook Live for the audio issues just had a second ago. That should all be fixed now, so please let us know if you still can't hear us. That should be adjusted. But welcome to tonight's podcast. It is great to have the amazing Chris Mason back with us tonight.
Hey, yeah, glad to be back. Sorry to all the listeners who've been missing me. I know all my fans out there really wanted to see and hear from me, but, we got to take care of business sometimes. So had a couple client meetings on Wednesday evenings, had Thanksgiving break during all that. So
yeah.
Glad to be back. Sad news, though, next week I'll be missing as well. We'll be traveling with family. So
well, there's a lot of people that will be traveling. I am a very hard and dedicated worker, and I've dedicated this podcast. So because I'm so dedicated and have this amazing work ethic that Chris lacks, I will be pulling up again to carry this podcast the same way that Aaron Rodgers carries the Green Bay Packers and LeBron carries the Cleveland Cavaliers. Speaking of people who carry things, Chris, have you ever been a part of a project where there's schoolwork, whatever, and there's about, let's say there's 5 people on your team, and 4 people all do the work they're supposed to do, and there's great chemistry between those 4 people. And then one person kind of acts like they do the work, but they haven't really done all the work, yet they're going to get the same grade you got, and they may even take more credit than you took.
Yeah, that was me. I was that guy.
No, but I mean, like group project and somebody takes credit where they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. I've seen this happen at work before. I definitely saw this in college and high school. A lot of people take credit when they're not supposed to. In sports, though, there are certain positions where we give people credit when they aren't due credit. And let's think basketball, for example. Anytime a point guard wins a game, we give that point guard a win-loss record. In hockey, we give goalies a win-loss record. Same thing in soccer. In baseball, a pitcher gives a win-loss record. But let me ask you, in baseball, if a game is 20-18, does the pitcher really deserve the win in that scenario? In the NFL, we give quarterbacks a win-loss record. And that's ultimately how we judge a lot of these quarterbacks. Today, I want to abolish the win-loss record in the NFL because it's incredibly deceiving to you, the fan, into figuring out who's actually worth their money and who's not. This past weekend, actually it was a week ago tomorrow, I'm watching the Falcons play the Saints. The score was 20-17. The Falcons pulled this one out in the fourth quarter. In fact, the Falcons pulled it out in the fourth quarter because Matt Ryan threw a nice touchdown pass. His only touchdown pass of the game. But Matt Ryan throughout this game threw 3 interceptions, only completed 55% of his passes, and had a quarterback rating of 55, which is absolutely abysmal. That is Tim Tebow bad. That's how bad Matt Ryan was. But everybody came out that night and said, oh my gosh, Matt Ryan came through in the clutch. No. Your entire team put together this really, really nice cake, and Matt Ryan came on at the end and slapped some icing on it. Matt Ryan has been exactly what I said he would be at the start of the season. He's back to being average. His quarterback rating is 92.4. That, by the way, is 1 point lower than his career average of 93.5. He's been exactly what he's been his entire career average. All of you last year wanted to say, oh, Matt Ryan's this elite, top 3, top 5 quarterback. Let's put him in the same category as Brady, Rodgers, Roethlisberger, Manning. Shame on you. Forever thinking that Rodgers, Brady, or Roethlisberger were ever this average. Those are 3 players that have absolutely carried their team. Sometimes in sports, a player wins, or a team wins because of a player. Sometimes a team wins despite a player. Falcons right now are 8-5. I've looked at Matt Ryan's stats. This year he's thrown 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, quarterback rating of 92.4. He's not been bad, but they are not winning because of Matt Ryan. Last year his rating was through the roof. His numbers were through the roof. Why? Oh, I don't know. Kyle Shanahan maybe had a little something to do with it. Remove Shanahan, insert Steve Sarkisian, completely different. Cam Newton, by the way, has not just been average. Cam Newton has actually been bad. Like, really bad. Cam Newton this year has thrown 17 touchdowns, 12 picks, and has a quarterback rating of 81.9. That, by the way, on par with Mitch Trubisky, who a lot of us consider to be an unfinished product. I never bought Cam Newton really coming out of college. Never really did. Cam Newton came out of college, and I remember watching this. They were, I think, losing it was to the Lions. The score was like 31-10. Cam Newton had a 12-yard run on a read option the Lions had never seen before. Down 31-10, late third quarter. He runs for a first down. He gets up and he does a Superman pose. And it was at that moment I said, he doesn't get it. He has absolutely zero self-awareness. Cam Newton, since he came into this league, has been the most selfish player in the NFL. And I'm not talking about off-field. What somebody does off-field, whatever. Some of that stuff can be great. But Cam Newton on the field is incredibly selfish. He came in and wanted to establish his own personal brand. A lot of you don't remember this because it never really took off. A year into the league, Cam Newton established his own fashion brand and was selling clothes from his clothing line at Belk, at JCPenney. That's what Cam Newton was doing. You would never hear of Carson Wentz doing that. He's 2 years into the league now. Tom Brady didn't do that. Manning never did that. The greats don't do that. Cam Newton has spent his entire career complaining about the referees, complaining about the hits he takes, which, by the way, he takes because of his playing style. Cam Newton has never adjusted his playing style. He still can't complete a 3-yard screen pass across the flat. He still has the same issues he had when he entered the league. Oh, and by the way, this year and last year have statistically been the 2 worst of his career. Every other good NFL quarterback, every single one, gets into their prime about 5 to 6 years into the league. That's when you should be peaking. Look at Russell Wilson. This is the best we've ever seen of him. He's incredible. Cam Newton, 6 years into the league, 7 years into the league, his career is declining. He's getting worse. And the Panthers are not winning because of him, no. That game against Minnesota, Cam completed 52% of his passes, only had 130 yards, a touchdown, a pick, quarterback rating of 64.9. Bud, when that's your completion percentage, when that's your rating, team's not winning because of you. The Panthers have won despite of you and because of their defense, good head coach, and newfound running game. Matt Ryan and Cam Newton are players we all thought would be elite, but they absolutely aren't. Okay, so, last week came out on the show, and Chris you listened to the show last week, did you hear what I said about Lavar Ball and how he's changed the culture of college basketball? Miss it?
I don't agree with any of that, but we'll go from there.
Okay, so you don't agree. Okay, well, the point was...
I'm not going to give him that much credit.
Well, the point was I think he's going to change the culture of basketball because I think basketball players are going to look at college basketball and they're going to say, okay, I could go to Kansas, get a full scholarship to Kansas for a year, play for Bill Self, be criticized if I don't do well in the tournament, get picked second, and then enter the league when I'm 19. Or I could go to Europe, get paid $100,000 a year. Not bad for being an 18-year-old. You can get endorsements in Europe. That's going to add up to about another $300,000 over there. All of a sudden, you're making a really nice paycheck as an 18-year-old. A lot of these basketball players are coming from bad part of Chicago, bad part of New York, not great areas. You can get mom, get dad, get the brother and sister out of that area, put them in a nice home while you're out in Europe. Oh, and by the way, instead of studying history class, you can study how they play the game in Europe, which is now transitioning into the NBA. I think playing in Europe has a lot of advantages, and what I think Lavar Ball did last week by pulling his kids out of UCLA is I think he's going to open the eyes. That's at every one and done. Doesn't mean Kentucky won't get their guy or Duke won't get their guy. But I think now you're going to see 1 or 2 or 3 of these one and dones per year come out and say, instead of college, I'm going to go the European route.
Well, this started before ball. I mean, it hasn't been publicized a lot. It hasn't been made top of media news just because it wasn't people with the history of the Ball family and so forth. So, but I think you're right. I think people are going to do this more and more often. But I also think NCAA is going to change. I mean, the NCAA is really making between what happened with Adidas and University of Louisville, etc.
Correct.
Players continuing to go more overseas during this 1-year waiting period. The NBA is kind of having some issues with new players being really one and done there, so they sign a 1-year contract, fall in the D League, and then end up out of the league in 3 to 4 years. You're going to see a lot less of the one and done, and the rule is going to change. The rule is going to change probably within the next 2 years, just because of the major issues that.
Well, and the president of the NCAA came out and he criticized the Ball family and criticized. Valuing I thought it was stupid, but he basically criticized anybody who values their professional life over their college life and said if that's the reason why you're here, you should explore your professional opportunities rather than leveraging a college career simply to get into the NBA. So, I mean, I thought it was a dumb statement, but that's what he came out and said 2 weeks ago. So I said Lavar Ball, I think, is going to change the culture of NCAA. Whether that be, from the president making a rules change, whether that be from players just simply deciding on their own, I think eventually soon the NCAA is going to change how college basketball works and players are going to start doing things differently.
These guys are not student athletes at this point. The one and done at Kentucky, at Duke, at Kansas, wherever you want to say, these guys are not student athletes. They're athletes who are being forced to go to class for a semester. Yeah. It's a dumb premise anyway, and to think that it's actually helping the kids, it's not.
No, completely agree with that. Here's what Lavar Ball did this week. Last week he changed college basketball. This week he just changed the NBA. And he didn't change it for the long term. He changed it for the short term. So what Lavar Ball did, he's been out the past couple of weeks. He's been going to these Lakers games. He sits on the front row. I don't know if any of you have watched a Lakers game. Go look at highlights. He is absolutely obnoxious. Every time Lonzo Ball touches the basketball, it's like Lavar Ball. There's a light shining on him and angels are singing to him, I think is the mode he gets into. He is up off the benches. He's been shown twirling a towel around. He's been shown screaming, getting up, doing whatever. And I'm not saying parents shouldn't be excited for their kid, but he's been way over the top. This week the Lakers came back and said, hey, knock it off. You have got to back off of this, and you've got to let Lonzo be part of the team. And they asked LeVar to back off the comments he's made about the coaching staff at the Lakers. And here's what LaVar Ball has done that is changing the NBA. And the reason the Lakers came out and asked LaVar Ball to stop is because the Lakers have now learned that Paul George is not likely to go to LA in this offseason, and neither is LeBron James. 12 weeks ago, before the start of the season, it looked like that was going to happen. It was a lock. Now it's not happening. And the reason is because LeBron and Paul George look over at the Lakers and they're like, man, you've got a young team. There's not any veterans on that team. You've got Lonzo Ball, who's nice, but he can't shoot the ball. And Brandon Ingram is incredibly inconsistent. If we go over there, we're going to be the only adults on this roster. They also look at this and they go, the Lakers have a history of complete dysfunction since Mr. Buss died and Jeannie Buss has taken over. The Lakers have a history of dysfunction. And now they've added into that dysfunction LaVar Ball, who, if you look up a definition of dysfunction, I think his picture sits there in the dictionary. And they're looking at this going, we're not going there and ending our careers there because we're not going to win many championships with the Lakers and this new roster. And now the Lakers realize this puppy, it ain't working. So the Lakers are not getting LeBron and they're not getting Paul George. So the effect this will now have on the rest of the league is LeBron and Paul George, who I think want to play together, along with potentially Chris Paul, will all look to go to one other team. And it's not going to be Cleveland. It won't be LA. And what I think is going to happen, I don't know that this definitely happens, but it will be discussed. Chris, about 6 weeks ago, I said,
I already know what
LeBron should go to the Knicks. Have you watched Porzingis play at all this year?
Yeah, he's amazing.
He is amazing. I can't pronounce this other guy's name, but they've got a point guard. I think it's Kittinla. He's really good too. They've got shooters on that team, and the great thing about it is they've got cap space. They can bring in LeBron. If LeBron takes a bit of a pay cut, they could bring in one more star. And that team is going to give the Golden State Warriors a real run. Thanks to LaVar Ball and his dysfunction, the Lakers have now just told you they're not getting LeBron, they're not getting Paul George, and I think this is great for the NBA because this means potentially the Knicks could be back, and that's huge.
I think that's great for the NBA.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anytime the Knicks, like, people don't realize, some franchises just make leagues better. Like, in the NFL, you always want the Steelers and Cowboys to be really, really good. Like, the NFL is not reliant on teams and players, but generally, if the Cowboys and Steelers are good, ratings are good. In the NHL, you kind of always want the LA Kings to be really good, you want the Red Wings to be good, and you want the New York Rangers to be really good. In Major League Baseball, you want Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox. In the NFL, again, Cowboys, Steelers, and in the NBA, Lakers, Knicks drive the league. And so I think LeBron, biggest brand in the NBA, he goes to the Knicks. They bring in one more star. And if he can win 2 titles there, his legacy will be completely redefined in a way like we've never seen before. Okay, so we're going to take a break. On the other side of this break, people are freaking out about these NFL ratings. I'm here to tell you, it ain't that big of a deal. Children, settle down. This is the CJ Sweat Show. We'll be right back. Okay, so we were going to take a break. Apparently our sound bites have decided to stop working.
No break.
So we are potentially, I guess, not taking a break now, or maybe we can try and postpone this break. I don't really know why that is happening, but our sound bites aren't working. Here we go. Now we got our sound bites.
I didn't
Taking a
talk
break.
for a long time. I like things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
There's nothing left to say. I know where I'm going. We're starting here today. And you know that right.
CJ Sweat Show back. I appreciate everybody who tunes in on Facebook and leaves us the comments. One of my favorite things is going back after the show and reading everything that you guys have said. Chris, why don't you give us some comment highlights as we have concluded this break?
So most of the comments are coming from listener Fraser Hughes, who actually filled in as the co-host a couple weeks back. A couple things he says that Cam Newton stole a computer in college, which is true. He's a narcissist, which is true, and he also wants you to run him over with a CX-7 if you have any of those laying around.
Okay, well, I would, but he sold me a CX-5, so.
Sorry, Fraser. And then, I said that there's a reason, in my comment back to Fraser, was there's a reason we call him Scam Newton here on the show.
You call him that. I don't call him Scam Newton. All right, let's get to our news. Chris Mason with the news. Let's go.
Today in the news, we have, already been mentioned on the show, LiAngelo and MiAngelo Ball have signed with the Lithuanian basketball team. If you know how to pronounce this, please email or call the show. But I'm going to go with Viatis Perina.
Okay.
Close enough anyway.
That sounds good.
Yeah, Viatis Perina.
That sounds like a supermodel.
Or like a Persian princess.
Yeah, one of the two. All right, we're going to take a poll. Is that the name of a supermodel or a Persian princess?
Viatis Perina.
Let us know in the Facebook or Spreaker comments. I can't say it. Is this the name of a supermodel or a Persian princess?
Let us know. We're going to continue on with the news, and we'll read some of the results of that. The Yankees have signed Aaron Boone to be the manager of the team. He will be the 33rd manager of the Yankees in team history. Yeah, no, and he's already off to a hot start getting Giancarlo Stanton to come on board. I think it was a nice hire by the Yankees. I do like Aaron Boone. So that, hopefully the addition of Aaron Boone, Giancarlo Stanton, that's going to be nice for a good young squad. John Cena, the WWE wrestler, he's currently being sued by the Ford Motor Company. Ford sold him a 2017 Ford GT. Only 250 of these were made. And with the stipulation that he would hold on to the car for at least 2 years. Meanwhile, he says he's in financial trouble and decided to sell the car. Wow. So he's in financial trouble? Yeah. Can he not find like somebody that would let him do a commercial? Well, I mean, the WWE pays him $8 million a year. How is he in financial trouble? This is amazing. You're a financial planner. How is it people are making that much money and in financial distress? That is crazy to me. Yeah, so live below your means, people. That's the main issue. Is it doesn't matter. You're right. More money, more problems, right? All right. What's next? Speaking of people being sued, the Saints are currently being sued by one of their fans, one of their season ticket holders, over the kneeling during the national anthem, saying he would have not had bought the tickets if he would have known the players were going to protest the national anthem. Wait, has he followed the NFL for like the past 2 years now? He's suing over the price of his season tickets. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's a new level of dumb. And that is your news. All right, that is the news. Thank you, Chris Mason, for the news. All right, so this playoff race is now coming down to the wire. 3 weeks left in the season. Feels like that's insane. I feel like we just started the NFL. But right now, we'll break this down real quick. AFC, here would be your 1 seed, the Patriots. Steelers would be the 2 seed. That would be your first round bye. Then you would have the Bills at Jacksonville and Titans at Chiefs. They're for your AFC wildcard round. Now, still in the hunt, and this is key because this is going to get interesting, Ravens, Chargers, Raiders, Dolphins. How about that? Who called Jay Cutler and the Dolphins
at the start of the year telling you they would be in this playoff hunt. And then the Jets and somehow the 5-8 Bengals aren't completely out of this yet.
Do you seriously think that the Dolphins are in the playoff hunt? I mean, I see their record.
In the hunt, in the playoff hunt. Who's that say? Dolphins.
What's your chance that they make the playoffs?
Jay Cutler just gave you a Hall of Fame performance. One of the greatest performances of our time against the legend Tom Brady and his Ugg boots. Thank you, Jay Cutler.
You have a head coach that doesn't want to be seen on camera. You have an offensive line coach that was fired for sending videos to strippers.
Well, of him snorting crack.
Yeah. Doing drugs and sending videos to strippers. This team is not going to make the playoffs. The
classiness of this organization knows no bounds. All right, let's go over to the NFC. All right, NFC first round bye teams right now. Eagles, how about them clinching the NFC East? Chris hates that, by the way. They are on top, and then the Vikings are also have the other bye. Now, the interesting thing about that, the quarterbacks for both of those teams were backups last year on the Rams roster.
Yep.
So that's interesting. Falcons would play at the Rams in the wild card round, and then the Panthers would play at the Saints in the wild card round. So all three NFC South teams would get in. Now in the hunt, but not in right now, Seattle Seahawks, Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, Dallas Cowboys, and Arizona Cardinals. Now the interesting thing, there's one team on this list. They're not in the playoffs yet. You're going to know who they are. I think they could win the Super Bowl. The Green Bay Packers. This week, news broke the other night, Aaron Rodgers is back. Now, the key is can they beat Carolina this weekend? Because Aaron Rodgers, he's back, but he's not back to throwing 50-yard bombs to win games with a second to go. He'll be back, but this is going to look a lot different. If they can win 2 of these next 3 games, I think there's a chance they could get in. If they could win 3 of them, I think there's a very good chance they could get in. And if they can get in, and Aaron Rodgers, 3 weeks, he's gone through rehab. He's fully back in 3 weeks, playing in a wild card game. They can go into LA. They could go into New Orleans. Both of those, to me, look like winnable games. Like, Jared Goff is not going to beat Aaron Rodgers in a playoff game. It's the playoffs, and it's Aaron Rodgers. We saw what Rodgers did last year to Dak Prescott. So
Jared Goff isn't beating anybody in a playoff game. Todd Gurley's beating people in playoff games.
Jared Goff has been incredible this year.
But he's only been incredible because of the run threat.
No, I think it's had a lot to do with the design of the offense. But I would argue that Jared Goff has actually opened up Gurley's game.
So you're going to tell me, because I was actually going to ask you this question, of the teams that are not, or that are in the hunt but not in, you're going to pick the Packers?
I don't think the Lions are going to get there. The Cowboys I like, but again, we've got no Zeke this week. And
that was good.
What's that?
No Zeke this week.
Oh yeah, no Zeke this week. that should be my new. Oh gosh, that was the best fantasy name of the year.
It would have been.
That would have been the best fantasy name of the year. Crap.
Oh, funny. About our fantasy. So this is a side note from all this. So our fantasy league, fantasy league in the playoffs. I beat CJ the last week of the season to make the playoffs. Just a little rub there. And this week I play against a team that is called Winced Upon a Time, who just picked up Nick Foles.
Ooh.
Ironically enough, above my pick because I tried to get him too. So that was
that is interesting. All right, and so the last team in the NFC playoff hunt is the Cardinals. So I mean, like, listen,
so you're picking
the Seahawks. I would take. I don't think the Falcons are going to win out. I think the Falcons have at least 1, if not 2 more losses. In which case the Seahawks get in. I think between the Panthers and the Cowboys, I don't see either one of those teams finishing. I don't see them both finishing 10-6. In which case the Packers have a legit chance to get in. So, it's not easy for the Packers to get in. They need some other things to happen. But if they can get in, if they can get in, I think they're a legitimate Super Bowl threat. Okay, so we're going to play now a game called Buy or Sell. We've done this before. Buy, sell, or hold. So I'm going to give Chris a line here, and you play along in Facebook too. I'm going to give Chris a line, a prediction. You tell me whether or not it's a stock market. You tell me whether or not you're going to buy, sell, or hold this pick. All right. The Vikings have a chance to win the Super Bowl without Teddy Bridgewater stepping on the field.
Have a chance? Yeah, they have a chance. I'm buying that. How much their chance is, maybe it's 10%, 5%, something somewhere there between 5 and 10%. That's look, those are one of those. If you're equating it to stocks, that's like, okay, let's take a flyer. Let's put a little bit of our portfolio in here, see if we can catch a run. All right, this is not like I'm going all in. Yeah, I think they have a chance.
I would completely sell this. I like the Vikings. I've watched them play. That defense is incredible. Now, they can win a playoff game, but Case Keenum is not beating Drew Brees in a divisional round or championship round playoff game. Case Keenum is not going to beat Aaron Rodgers in a divisional round championship playoff game. He's not going to beat Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to beat Russell Wilson in an NFL championship game. He's not doing that. So I don't think, and by the way, if they get to the Super Bowl, he's not beating Roethlisberger or Brady. So I know we're all excited about the Vikings defense and this run game, and they've got some passing threats, but it's still a quarterback league. Take quarterback first quarterback. Keenum is not beating Brady. He's been there too often, so I would sell that. All right, you go.
All right, before I jump into mine, I've got to preface this.
Go ahead.
Here's the part of the show where I say that you were wrong. There is a team that when we were back in the summertime, we were talking about NFL, and you said this team is a little bit on shaky ground, to use your quote. You said they're going to fall apart about halfway through the season. Mm-hmm. You know what team this is?
Is it the Steelers?
This is the Steelers.
Okay.
The Steelers have been crushing it recently.
Are crushing it.
And one thing you said is that you think Big Ben doesn't like Mike Tomlin, and you think that he basically would love to play on the Patriots because Goodell is a genius and would love to associate himself with.
Yeah.
Not Goodell. The Patriots head coach.
Belichick?
Belichick.
Yeah.
Me. So,
I don't think he loves Belichick or loves the Patriots. I think he respects him, and I don't think he respects Tomlin.
So here's your redemption. The Steelers will beat the Patriots. Buy or sell?
Completely sell. Because they've played this thing 5 times now. Patriots record against them 5-0. I'm not going to buy into the Steelers at all as a playoff team. The Steelers, by the way, yeah, they look hot. They beat the Bengals by 3. They beat the Packers by 3. At home, they did destroy the Titans. If you watch that game, the Titans played like a complete mess, and Mariota looked limited. They beat the Colts by 3. They beat the Lions, not a good team, by 5. You can beat teams that aren't very good, but when you're barely squeaking by these teams, I'm not going to buy into it. That Ravens team, that defense was awful that game, and Joe Flacco picked apart the Steelers' defense. I like Big Ben a lot. Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell are keeping this team alive. But Mike Tomlin is not going to outcoach Bill Belichick, and Ben Roethlisberger physically is not reliable. So I don't see that happening whatsoever.
All right. Well, to be determined because they play Sunday 4:25. We're going to talk about this next week. I'm going to bring it back up.
The Steelers could win this Sunday. It's a home regular season game. But are they going to beat the Patriots in the playoffs? Not a chance. Not a chance.
Got it.
In fact, I think you'll see Belichick. Belichick may do some things that are uncharacteristic to what he typically does. Because I think Belichick is going to use this as a primer, as he's done in the past.
Sure.
So, but the Steelers, by the way, to your point, the Steelers, I believe, are the most talented team right now in the NFL. Especially on offense. I mean, offensive line, playmakers, quarterback. That is the best combination of talent in the NFL. If they do not win this year, it is an absolute referendum on Mike Tomlin.
No, I think they have the most talented team on both sides of the ball. I mean, if you look at them as a whole team, I think their defense is as good as their offense.
Well, I thought that too until Brett Hundley put 28 points on the board and until Joe Flacco made him look like made them look like a Big 12 defense.
Yeah.
All right, here's my next one for you. Dak Prescott leads the Cowboys to a playoff win on the road. And it's going to have to be on the road because they can't win the division now.
This season?
This season. He leads them to a playoff win on the road. So, in other words, he can't be like 12 for 25, no touchdowns and a pick. He's got to lead them to a playoff win.
No, I'm selling it. I'm selling the fact that they make the playoffs.
Wow.
I don't think they make the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, heck no. I think it's going to be you're going to have the Rams, Seahawks, either the Falcons or the Panthers.
Packers,
no. The Vikings, and who am I missing?
Eagles are going to be in there.
Yeah, so let me see. Let's see this real quick. I'll give it to you. You're going to have the Eagles and the Vikings, either the Falcons or the Panthers, the Rams, the Saints, and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
That's my playoffs. If I'm picking the teams right now. I don't think the Packers, the Lions, or the Cowboys make it. I don't think the Cardinals have a chance.
Cardinals don't have a chance, yeah. I don't see. Cardinals lose this weekend, or if a couple of teams win, they're out.
As much as I would like to see it, I don't think so.
No, I would sell this too, and I told you at the start of the year, I thought Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. He's taking a step back. Dak Prescott, we've now seen him a number of times. He's good, don't get me wrong, but he's limited. And the second you take away his running game, or the second that defense, you're missing Sean Lee, you're missing a couple of key guys, all of a sudden Dak Prescott, he's not going to hold your team. He's not going to hold your team the way Aaron Rodgers can carry a team, the way Romo was duct tape for that team for a while. He's not going to do that. But when you put a good team around him, he extends that team and adds a different element to that team. Coordinators have now started to figure him out as well. So I do like Dak, but we're now seeing the limitations, and I think it's too late in the year for him to just pick it up and carry this team to 3 straight wins and then a playoff win on the road.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think if they do get into the playoffs, they can win a game. Like they can go into New Orleans and win.
Yeah.
If that's the case,
I think they could go into LA and win.
That would be tough because here's the thing. Like Zeke, as bad as some of these people are saying, that they should have just took the 6-game suspension. Now he's been off for 6 weeks, like rehabbing. Right, he's going to be fresh. Sean Lee is back, and Dallas's defense is 100% different with Sean Lee on the field.
Oh no, it is. So we don't talk about how effective defensive players are because even Vegas is like J.J. Watt's the most valuable defensive player on the field. He's worth 1.5 points. I would argue, this is where I would push back on Vegas, Sean Lee is worth more than J.J. Watt is. Because Sean Lee, when he's on the field, the Cowboys are something like 8-1, and when he's off, they're something like 2-8, like their past 9 or 10 games. It's unbelievable the effect he has on that team.
Yeah, I think they probably have to win out. And I don't even really see them going 2-1. They play at the Raiders, who
that's a tough game.
Aren't great this year, but you have to travel there. Then they play the Seahawks at home, and we've talked about it plenty of times on the show where the Seahawks don't travel well, and that's Christmas Eve. They probably win that game, but then they finish at the Eagles. I don't see them winning.
Well, if they finish
games.
at the Eagles, if Philly, by the way, playing without Carson Wentz now, and they're already in playoffs. So if at that point they've clinched that home field advantage, maybe they sit some people. All right, that one took a while. What's next?
Your team. So since you picked one of my teams, I'll give you one of your teams. Duke does not win the ACC title this year, regular season title.
Regular season title? I'd sell. Well, I would hold on that. I think Duke is by far the most talented team, and I think Duke is going to pick it up here by mid-January, as they typically do. I think Kentucky will too. Marvin, this Bagley kid, is the most impressive. He is, to me, the best one and done we maybe have ever had. It's incredible the offensive awareness he has and his ability to score from anywhere and convert anything to points. I've never seen anything like it before. Now, they are very, very immature. You see that from time to time. They make some dumb mistakes, and they did it at Boston College. But that, they don't have, in the next 21 days, I looked this up, they play one game It's home against Evansville. So they're getting the next 3 weeks to focus on a lot of those things, and they're doing it coming off of a loss. Huge advantage, Coach K. So I think they're going to enter ACC play and be amazing. They'll lose a couple of games. Like Notre Dame's going to pick it up, and they'll be really good soon. NC State, I said, is going to be the most impressive surprise team in the ACC. Georgia Tech's going to be pesky, although not great. And then UNC is going to be good. So like the ACC's deep, but I think Duke is the best team and has the best player.
Bagley is amazing. Is he the best one and done we've seen? I mean, you could say he has the potential to be, but there's like...
Well, that's why I said maybe.
Yeah, so maybe, yeah. But, I mean, you've got guys that are proving themselves in the league, and I'll name 2 Kentucky guys just because I could name 5 Kentucky guys, but 2 that are coming up at the top of my head. You have Anthony Davis, Carl Anthony Towns. So, like, those guys are doing things in the league.
Anthony Towns has been an incredible NBA player. I don't know that I would say Anthony Towns had the effect at Kentucky that Anthony Davis had or that Bagley is having at Duke.
They went 39-0.
I know they did. Duke also won the
38-0.
championship that year.
Yeah, but that you can't just measure like especially in these one.
No, but I mean, but Carl Anthony Towns also played on the most talented Kentucky team we've ever had, and he
was the man on that team.
He was. But Anthony Davis carried Kentucky to a title, and every single time Kentucky got down that year, who did they go to get the win? Anthony Davis.
Not true. Anthony Davis scored 8 points in the national championship game.
But they mostly dominated that game, didn't they?
No, they won by like 6. They played Kansas.
Okay.
And Anthony Davis was on a team with like 6 pros. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Terrence Jones. Like, these guys are also doing things in the... Like, he was on a very quality team. He was the 4th leading scorer on that team. Now, he averaged like 8 blocks a game and 15 rebounds.
But he's not the scorer, but defensively and his length and his ability to rebound and block.
He controlled.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he would I don't care about the points. Forget the points. But what he did to have the effect for Kentucky was he would force other teams to play an offense completely differently. Like, you could not drive the ball with Anthony Davis
100%.
inside the paint. But Karl Anthony Towns had a great effect offensively. I think Anthony Davis, though, carried that team at times when they didn't have another defensive force to rely on. And that's what I like so much about him. Bagley's more of an offensive guy, but I think he's incredible.
So I don't say this a lot. I don't say this a lot about Duke guys. I like Bagley. There's like 2-3 guys that I'll ever say I like at
Grayson
Duke so
Allen.
far. No, Kyrie Irving, Bagley, and Jay Billis. Who I know it's like your least favorite Duke guy. So.
Jay Billis is my least favorite Duke guy. All right. Here's one for you. The winner of the Oklahoma-Georgia game will lose the college football championship. Buy, sell, or hold.
I'll buy that.
You'll buy that?
Yeah, yeah. Mine's all. My next question for you is college football as well. It's kind of funny how these lined up, but yeah, I think it's either going to be Alabama or Clemson.
Well, here's the thing with this. So Lincoln Riley's playing Kirby Smart. So their combined years at their school, including this year, is 3 combined. Kirby Smart's in his second. Lincoln Riley's in his first.
So wait, now Lincoln Riley was at that school before, so that's.
He's been there for a while, but it's his first year as a head coach, which I think is completely different. Nick Saban is at Alabama. Dabo Swinney is at Clemson. Those are 2 heavy hitters. They've been there. They've done it. Like, even Swinney, who I think is amazing, his first championship game, you can kind of see he's flustered. His team wasn't prepared the right way. Now they came back, but it was his second year when they won. Nick Saban has been around the block. Swinney's been around the block. Lincoln Riley and Kirby Smart have never been the head coach of a team in a game that big. They don't know how to prepare them. That's why I think the winner of that game is going to lose.
No, I'll give you an analogy. So this is a lot different, but a little bit the same. Back 2 years ago, Virginia was a 1 seed in the NCAA, and it was Coach Bennett, who had never been there before, never been a 1 seed. at UVA who had never been there before. They won
Yeah.
their first game, and they played Michigan State against Tom Izzo in the second round. And I'm just like circling that on my bracket. Like, there's no way
I
Tom
did too.
Izzo
Yeah.
is not winning this game. Like, he's been there before. He's done it before. So, especially in these situations, if you have been there, if you have led a team there, if your team has been there recently and has experience in those types of games, you have that much more chance to winning. The fact that Alabama's the 4 seed, though, I mean, the fact that Clemson has to play Alabama is like terrible for Clemson because they might be like the best team in the nation, but not play in the national championship.
Yeah, no, completely agree. All right, so you and I would both buy that. All right, what's next?
Buy or sell. Clemson goes back to back and wins the national championship this year.
Hold. I think that team. I think completeness, top to bottom. That team is not as good, but as talented as they were last year. I just don't know if they can get through Alabama. And, Clemson did that with Deshaun Watson in his redshirt senior year. I think Kelly Bryant is just a junior. I think that's hard to do. And that defense is going to be tough. They're going to be ticked. They've been off for a while. I just don't know that they can beat Alabama. Now, if they can, I think Clemson's got a great shot. And I think Dabo Swinney's an excellent coach. But I don't know that I would buy that yet. What do you think?
I agree. I wanted to bring this up because the bias in me is about to come out. It's going to be 2 SEC teams in the national championship game, and just to prove the dominance of the SEC in college football is still alive and well.
All right, here's one for you. The Patriots are a lock to win the AFC.
A lock?
A lock.
No, I give them about a 50-50 chance to win the AFC.
I think it's more like 85-15. I would be willing to bet on this. If they don't win the AFC, you get the chance to make me eat whatever you want on the podcast.
Eat?
Listen, I'm like the pickiest eater in the world. So you bring in Asian food. I hate Asian food.
No, I'd probably make you eat like a kale salad or something.
That would also be awful. Now, let me rephrase. I will try whatever it is. I'm not going to sit here and eat a plate of kale salad as we do our live podcast. All right, you got one more?
Yeah,
Are you out?
I have one more. No, I have one more for you.
Okay.
A little bit off topic for us. We're going to golf. Tiger Woods will win a PGA Tour event this year. Buy or sell.
Will win an event this year. Well, the stock on that would have to be low. So I'll buy it. Although, his Masters odds, this was interesting. Before that tournament a couple weeks ago, his odds to win a top 4 event this year, a major this year, was 100-1. Those have now improved to 10-1.
Interesting.
Isn't it? So.
Gosh, I would never bet that. Betting odds on the Patriots winning the AFC Championship this year is 1-1. So even money.
Yeah, that's good. All right, here's my last one for you. Grayson Allen will be ejected from more games than DeMarcus Cousins.
In his NBA career or this season?
This season.
DeMarcus Cousins I saw it the other day, is the most. He has the most technical fouls of anybody, and over his career, it's like not even close. He has like over 100 technical fouls.
I think that's what he's trying to do for his career, is set the record and like do it in a dominant fashion.
Who does? Like, is it like Dennis Rodman? Like,
he would have to be up there. Gosh, he's the guy who played for the Knicks. He got in trouble recently. I'm blanking on his name.
I don't know. So he's another Kentucky guy. I wanted to defend him a little bit. He is a complete hothead in the game. There was an instance in Kentucky where he gave the fist and followed through with the elbow to a Louisville player during the game. Complete hothead during the game. But what he does in the communities that he plays in, what he did in Sacramento and now what he's doing in New Orleans is amazing. He gives so much of his contract money and does so much for those communities that you have to give him a little bit of credit for that. His antics on the court are a little bit of an issue.
All right, so that was buy, sell, or hold. All right, here's the next thing I want to get into.
Wait. I want to sell that because DeMarcus Cousins will get thrown out of more games than Grayson Allen will play in his NBA career.
Okay. Well, it was for this season, but we'll go with it. All right, here's the last one. Here's our next topic. We're going to switch to this. It amazes me how a narrative starts and catches like wildfire in the media, but there's never really any truth to it. So the media's been telling me for like the past, I don't know, year now that the NFL is dying. And if you look up anything about the NFL, the media is telling you, oh my gosh, these ratings are completely awful. Roger Goodell, how is he getting this contract? None of us can figure it out. Everybody's comparing the NFL ratings now to what it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, the NFL was at its peak. Remember what happened 2 years ago? Peyton Manning was in his last year. He announced his retirement. Cam Newton lit up the NFL, went 15-1. Cam Newton, I don't like. He is easily the most marketable NFL player the league has ever had, potentially. The smile, the touchdown dances. He invented the dab, which is now caught like wildfire. Like that became a national trend. Then you had Tom Brady, who was great. And not to mention, Russell Wilson was absolutely amazing that year. You had not just one, but 4 players playing the best years of their career, and one was incredibly marketable. You also had the NFL. DraftKings was at its peak, along with all of the other fantasy football things that have gone on. Those did not last long, and it wasn't because the TV ratings went down. It's because people got way too serious with it, and people stopped having fun with it. And now, like, you go on to DraftKings, there's people who do this for a career. So that has completely lost interest. The NFL simply did what a lot of businesses and teams do. They got too big. Not too big for their own good. They just simply peaked. You ever, remember Apple? Let's go back further than that. You remember Yahoo? And when Yahoo first gained interest, and Chris, you maybe remember this a little bit. There's a classic scene. I can't remember which one it is, but he says, at the end of it, he's going to go invest in Yahoo. Yahoo, when it first began, was like a $1 stock. Nobody knew about it. Yahoo exploded 3 years later. And then 5 years after it exploded, the stock started going down. Why? Yahoo's stock completely peaked. Yahoo's time as being this elite business peaked. It happens. Businesses go in waves. The NFL's not dying. The NFL has, by the way, some of the most marketable players, and the league is young. Carson Wentz is a baby. He's going to be in this league for the next 12 years. He'll be marketable. Deshaun Watson is a baby. He'll be in this league for the next 12 to 15 years. They're going to market him. The same with Jared Goff. Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen and Josh Allen are about to enter the league. The league is fine. I know there's a lot of things happening that's negative, but when you look at the long-term structure of the league, it's going to be completely okay. The concussions aren't that big of a deal. I mean, they're a big deal in that they need to be dealt with, don't get me wrong, but it's not killing the league. The anthem's not killing the league. The NFL is going to be fine. We're all going to be okay. NFL ratings down is just because things like this happen to businesses. Sometimes you're not as great one year. Just like Matt Ryan, by the way. Last year, exploded. Absolutely incredible. This year, he's back to his average. It's what happens in businesses, in sports, and a lot of different things. Just because the NFL's down doesn't mean it's dying. All right, Chris, there's a lot of good bowl games coming up. Which one are you most looking forward to?
Outside of Kentucky playing?
Let's go non-playoff bowl games. Non-playoff bowl games. So I'm gonna give you one. Like the one I'm really interested to see is Grambling versus North Carolina A&T in the Celebration Bowl.
Why in the heck would you want to watch that game?
No, I think the Outback Bowl with Michigan and South Carolina, two very defensive teams, a couple NFL players there will be fun. Notre Dame and LSU is going to be a real interesting one. I think the one I'm most interested in, though, is Miami versus Wisconsin in the Capital One Orange Bowl. Because Miami doesn't have a great quarterback. Wisconsin, we've always questioned their defense. Both of these teams were teams that, 5 weeks ago, we were talking about being in the college football playoff. Now they're not getting in. I think that one's going to be incredibly riveting.
Well, I think of the Big Six. That's the most interesting. Let's see here. I think that Ohio State
USC game
that should be a lot of fun. I just like it because you get teams that don't play each other as much.
Yeah.
To kind of play Notre Dame LSU. That game should be pretty sweet.
How about Virginia Tech? Now, I know you don't like the Hokies, but Virginia Tech versus Oklahoma State, from an entertaining point, that's going to be a ton of fun.
Oh, it should be like
because Virginia Tech's got a great defense. Oklahoma State has Mason Rudolph. I don't know how that one's going to go down.
Yeah.
But that one's going to be a back and forth fun game. Come down to the wire.
I'll tell you how it's going to go down.
What about let's see, Duke versus Northern Illinois? That's a great game. Appalachian State and Toledo in the Dollar General Bowl. Something about Appalachian State and Toledo and just their locations kind of scream Dollar General to me.
I don't know why you're going with this at all.
It just sounds cheap.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's not too much.
Like Dollar General is to Walmart what Appalachian State is to Alabama.
Best bowl of the year, the Music City Bowl.
Music City Bowl?
Yeah, December 29th.
So that's Kentucky and
Northwestern.
There
is interesting thing about that bowl is that there is a hot chicken eating contest at that bowl game. And
gosh.
I want in this.
Let's go.
Have you ever been to Nashville?
No, I've never been.
Great town. If you ever go, you have to go to a place called Hattie B's. They serve hot fried chicken. And that's who's holding the contest. The only problem is, like, I had their medium, and I was eating as fast as I could because it was delicious, but it was hot.
Yeah.
And so when you get, like, their fire, like, burn your face off hot, it's a little hard.
I can't do that.
And that's what you have to eat for the contest.
Yeah, I definitely can't do that. All right, no, that should be a good game. Now, the interesting thing about this, so Duke played Northwestern this year.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You want to know what the score of that game was?
Duke by 20.
Duke won that one 41-17. I was at that game.
24.
So, Duke smoked them. So, listen, don't lose to Northwestern.
We got it. We got to win.
Don't lose to Northwestern, or you're going to hear about it for the rest of the year. All right, I want to thank you guys for listening. As I always say, go to cjsweatshow.com for the latest blog entries, post updates on what we're doing. We will soon have a store up there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you visit that. Make sure you download the podcast on iTunes. Also, I love feedback on Twitter. I love hearing from you guys, seeing your tweets. Go to twitter.com/CJ Make sure you follow us on there. This is CJ Sweat. Have a good night.